Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. There is a new expansion of presumptive conditions. This is a win for a lot of veterans, and I wanted to share this with you so you are aware of what's going on. Now, there's limited information, but hoping to get some more on this here shortly. Now, this came out June 2nd, 2025. Sharing it with you here today. Want to throw on a special thank you to Wireless Sunday 9897. Thank you so much for the super comment, super chat. I really do appreciate your support very much. Wireless Sunday 9897. All right, so with that, this is on disabledveterans.org website. I did see it pop up in a couple different places, and I'm going to just share this article with you here from Benjamin Krause. Again, came out June 2nd, 2025, sharing it with you here today. And like I said, I'm going to follow this and see what else comes out and share that with you as well. So presumptive conditions, first of all, just so everybody understands the power of a presumptive. And it really just creates an easier path, an easier doorway for specific conditions that are considered presumptive. In other words, the VA just goes, hey, look, if you served in this area during this specific time period, and you have this specific condition on the presumptive list, we just presume that it is due to your service in that area, and you don't need to prove the nexus. Now, if your condition is not a presumptive condition, it's not on a presumptive list for anything, it doesn't mean don't file for it. It just means you need to provide additional evidence as to the nexus. Now, that might mean getting a nexus letter, a solid nexus letter with rationale and all that good stuff. If your doctor can't, won't, or doesn't, utilize AME, American Medical Experts. Their link will be in the description below, as well as the comments. That nexus letter helps you to really get the nexus aspects in line from a medical professional to help you get that claim won. Now, you don't need it if it's a presumptive. Now let's jump into it. The headline here, VA expands presumptive conditions. A win for K2 and post 9/11 veterans. Again, this came out June 2nd, 2025. And it states here, when you served your country, boots in the dirt, lungs full of jet fuel fumes, and God knows what from burn pits, you shouldn't have to fight for the care you were promised. And yet, for thousands of veterans who served in, and I look, K2, so it's two Ks, and I'm going to butcher it here, Karshi Khanabad Air Base in Uzbekistan, and across post 9/11 deployments, that's exactly what happened. Until now, the Department of Veterans Affairs recently announced a major policy shift, adding several rare and aggressive cancers to the presumptive condition list for vets who served in specific toxic environments overseas. It's a step in the right direction, but it is also a painfully overdue acknowledgement of what many already knew. Toxic exposure didn't end when the deployment did. Isn't that, and that's a good point, right? It's like just because you left an area doesn't mean that, oh, well, now it's all magically better. You're just riddled with different things. So moving on, what's really funny here is on this specific website, disabledveterans.org, it says here, and I'm just sharing this with you because it's a little bit funny. It says, watch the video below about VA presumptive conditions, update for toxic exposure YouTube. And lo and behold, there's a video thumbnail there, VA disability presumptive conditions, how does it work, by Veterans Info Tap. Cool. I'm down. Thank you. Thank you for putting that on there. I do appreciate you folks over at disabledveterans.org. I really do appreciate you. So I feel like I'm obligated now. Check them out. Disabled Veterans with an S.org. All right, so moving on. What was K2? What was K2 and why is it a problem? K2 was a former Soviet air base that became a key U.S. military staging ground after 9/11. It was also according to declassified documents and firsthand accounts, an environmental nightmare. There's 4 bullet points. Black sludge oozing from the ground, probably never a good sign. Radiation warning signs posted throughout the area. Burn pits, fuel spills, and chemical contamination. And 0 protective protocols. In short, troops stationed there were walking through and living in a chemical war zone, but nobody told them that. And since 2001, many of those same service members have reported cancers, respiratory diseases, and autoimmune disorders, only to be met with bureaucratic brick walls when they sought help. In other words, the steep hill of creating that nexus. Again, if you're not on the specific presumptive list of conditions, it doesn't mean don't file. It just means you need to provide additional strong evidence that really ties your condition to your time in service, and getting a solid Nexus letter from either your provider or if they can't, won't, or don't understand exactly what you're looking for. Again, AME, American Medical Experts, links in the description and in the comments. So what's changed? As of early 2025, the VA has expanded its presumptive list for veterans who served at K2 and other post 9/11 deployment zones. This means qualifying veterans no longer have to prove the direct link between their illness and their service. The VA presumes it exists. Now, again, remember that it has to be a condition that is on the presumptive list, the list of conditions that the VA presumes. It's not any condition. It is a specific set of conditions that the VA presumes would be related to your time in service in a specific location during a specific time frame. All right, so moving on, it says newly presumed conditions include, I haven't looked at them yet, all of them, but I'm assuming I'm probably not going to be able to say some of them, so just bear with me. Acute leukemia, chronic leukemia, multiple myeloma, myelodysplastic syndromes, I don't know. Myelofibrosis, bladder and urinary tract cancers. Whew! I will copy and paste that, put that in the description for you. But give me some math questions. I'll be good. Hey, look, VA funny math, I got it. I can explain that. Words, not so much. All right. The full list, the full VA announcement can be found at a hyperlink here, and I will put that in there as well in the description. Who's covered? Who's covered would be this expansion primarily benefits veterans who served after 9/11 in high-risk zones, including K2, Uzbekistan, Afghanistan, Iraq, Djibouti, Egypt, Jordan, Lebanon, Syria, Yemen, and other post-9/11 hotspots tied to U.S. operations. If you were deployed in these areas and have been diagnosed with one of the covered conditions, or know someone who has, this change could significantly affect your VA disability benefits and access to care. In other words, it's much easier to get it approved because it's a presumptive. Now, again, if you have a condition that's like really strange that you would have it at this age or whatever, having that conversation with your doctor about your exposures might tie that together, and you could file just a standard claim with the proof of Nexus, right? And really having your doctor with rationale, etc., put that together. So the evidence finally caught up. Veterans and advocacy groups like Stronghold Freedom Foundation have been calling out K2's dangers for years. Now, we've got data to back it up. Nearly 75% of K2 veterans surveyed report serious health issues. Cancer rate among K2 veterans are significantly higher than their non-deployed counterparts. VA claims for K2 veterans have been consistently denied until now. One former Army officer who served at K2 put it plainly: they're trying to deny us until we die. The adage, right? Deny until we die, right? So it's a steep hill when you're trying to prove a condition as a result of your time in service. again, getting the correct documentation and evidence is essential. And utilizing an organization like AME, if your doctor can't, won't, or don't, makes sense. It shouldn't take a grave diagnosis or worse, a funeral, to validate what these veterans have been screaming for over 2 decades. I agree, and it has this weird foul stench of what has happened to our Vietnam vets, right? Thank you for your service, of course, and thank you for all of your work in paving the way for a lot of the benefits that we have today. What veterans should do now: if you served in a covered location and are dealing with any of the new presumed conditions, here's what you need to do. You need to file a claim immediately. And I would actually say before that, file your intent to file for disability compensation. That's all you need to say. You can call the VA directly and you can tell them that you want to put in an intent to file, and that starts the clock for you while you gather your evidence, and then file your claim within the 12-month period allotted by the intent to file, and you'll be good to go. So then you'll file that claim. Even if you've been denied in the past, file again. You can take as many bites of the VA apple as you would like. And anytime there's changes like this, it's really a good thing to dust off your old claims and take a look. Under the new presumptive guidelines, you would have a great chance of winning now if you have that type of a condition. You can do this through va.gov, or you can work with an accredited veteran service officer. No matter what you do, I suggest a second set of eyes, always a good thing. Next bullet point here is get a thorough diagnosis. Make sure your medical provider documents everything accurately. It doesn't have to say caused by K2, but the diagnosis must match the VA's list. Again, they're talking specifically to presumptive conditions. If you served in K2, for example, and you have a condition on that list, that's really it. That's all you need in order to file for a presumptive. Now, if you're going for something that is not a presumed condition, then you need to do a little more work with the Nexus Letter and so forth. Secure back pay. If you were previously denied, you may be eligible for retroactive benefits, especially if you had already had the condition during the past filing. So in other words, you filed for it, you were denied, you had it, you had diagnosis for it, all of that stuff, you were denied. Now you're filing again, you may be able to go back. You might need to get an attorney involved, or at least get your accredited representative involved to peek into the VA system to see what they think. The last bullet here is don't go it alone. Organizations like DAV, VFW, and Stronghold Freedom Foundation are helping veterans navigate these claims. Is it enough, right? A few extra presumptives? No, but it is a step in the right direction for sure. And you're still playing catch up. Many illnesses remain unlisted, and I'm going to throw out Vietnam again. These Vietnam veterans, I mean, it was just recently through the PACT Act that hypertension got added as a presumptive condition, which that should have been many decades ago, honestly. So again, it's history repeats itself a little bit, I think. So here we are, and there's still many illnesses that remain unlisted in many locations, unacknowledged, and even here on our own soil, I would say. And many veterans are still waning. And while this new policy helps, the burden of proof still exists for those with unrecognized conditions, which is what I had talked about. Veterans outside the specified zones but exposed to similar toxins are still forced to fight uphill, really solidifying that nexus. Until the VA recognizes all toxic exposure-related illnesses and expand this protection universally, we still have work to do. All right, so with that, thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it so very much. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.